p.m. here in Hong Kong and China. I'm Emily Tan. Let's get to your headlines. More tech stocks joining the trillion-dollar club. SK hynix becoming the third Asian company after TSMC and Samsung to hit $1 trillion in market cap as the chip rally rolls on. Higher chip costs weigh on Xiaomi's Q1 bottom line. The smartphone and EV maker says it's looking to expand overseas with plans to enter the European EV market next year, as it also launches a $2.5 billion share buyback. And Pony AI swings back to a net loss, but a surge in its core robo-taxi business driving higher revenues. The Chinese autonomous driving company also saying it's not affected by a safety probe that affected its peers. And China's industrial profits jump over 20% in April, building on the momentum from the start of the year. And we have a rate decision from the Reserve Bank of New Zealand, leaving its policy rate unchanged at 2.25%. We are tracking the Kiwi dollar at 0.5864 last traded. Just looking at some of the commentary coming through from the RBNZ, the committee remains focused on ensuring that increased costs do not lead to elevated inflation over the medium term. On balance, the OCR will most likely need to increase sooner and by more than envisaged in the February monetary policy meeting. Their statement says that the Middle East conflict is increasing near-term inflation and weakening economic activity. They also says that the outlook for medium-term inflation pressures is also uncertain. Weak demand and elevated unemployment will dampen medium-term inflation pressures. Currently, core inflation, wage growth, and medium to long-term inflation expectations remain consistent, with inflation returning to the 2% level. So that coming in from the RBNZ, keeping the cash rate unchanged at 2.25% as expected. Let's take a look now at the rest of Asia, and we are thinner in trade today with a number of markets closed for Eid. 5 markets are shut, but the markets that are open are traded like this. And we're looking down the middle column. The Kospi better for 4.25%, 8,390. The TAIEX also sitting at record highs, 44,495, with the market there better for 2.25%. We're also tracking oil prices rising 3% in U.S. trade. Oil prices edging lower in Asian trade. WTI last traded at $92.81, Brent at $98.75. Peace deal negotiations looking rocky as Iran accuses the U.S. of violating their ceasefire deal by striking boats and missile sites near the Strait of Hormuz. The U.S. had called the strikes a matter of self-defense. The IRGC says it has the right to retaliate. Iranian Supreme Leader Mojtaba Khamenei also posted on Telegram saying Gulf powers will no longer be a shield for U.S. bases and that the U.S. will no longer have a safe haven in the region. At the same time, there's been other signs of progress. Iran's news agency says the latest talks in Qatar were, quote, overall positive. Local media also suggest the final sticking point in a peace deal is Tehran's push to get $24 billion in frozen assets released. China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi cheered on the ongoing peace talks, saying Beijing has been in contact with Iran, the U.S., and Qatar. He spoke to reporters after a United Nations Security Council meeting in New York.
We believe that the sovereignty, security, and territorial integrity of all countries in the region must be respected. Civilian and non-military targets must be protected. The security of passages and energy infrastructure must be safeguarded, and the provisions of the nuclear non-proliferation regime must be implemented.
U.S. futures are tipping more gains when markets reopen tonight after the S&P 500 and NASDAQ closed at another record high on Tuesday. Chip stocks accounting for the bulk of that action. Big gains in the semiconductor space helping to lift the Philadelphia Semiconductor Index, the SOX, to an all-time high. Micron was the outperformer, the stock soaring nearly 20% and exceeding $1 trillion in market cap. Qualcomm is the other interesting story. Those shares up 4.5% after reports that it's reached an AI chip deal with ByteDance, the owner of TikTok. And speaking of the $1 trillion club, we got another entry this morning with South Korea's SK Hynix shares soaring 10% in line with the broader Asia chip rally. CNBC's East Asia reporter Lisa Kim joins us now to track those gains. Lisa.